What happens after our final breath? Does our self vanish into nothingness, or do we pass through gateways beyond what humans can understand? Welcome, soul traveler, to the greatest mystery. Today, we explore one of the deepest and most puzzling writings of Tibetan Buddhism, the Bardo Thodol, better known in the West as the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Imagine a guide that walks with you through the most profound and mysterious times of existence. This is the role of the Bardo Thodol. And no, it's not just a simple book about the end of life. It's a map, a spiritual guide for what happens right after death. Get ready, because together we will step through this gateway, uncover its messages, and maybe understand a little more about what it means to live. The Bardo Thodol was written by Padmasambhava, a legendary and almost mythical figure in Tibetan Buddhism. Born in India, he is known as the one who brought Buddhism to Tibet in the 8th century. Tibetan tradition honors him as Guru Rinpoche, meaning precious master. But Padmasambhava was not just a monk. He was a deeply wise spiritual teacher, a yogi who mastered mystical techniques and secret teachings. The Bardo Thodol came from this master's wish to guide not only the living, but also the dead, giving them a path to freedom, even after the last breath. From a young age, Padmasambhava showed amazing mystical abilities, recognized as a Mahasiddha, a person who has reached a high level of spiritual insight, developing spiritual powers, siddhis, seen as miraculous. He was invited to Tibet by King Trisong Detsen, who wanted to spread Buddhism and strengthen the country spiritually, uniting the people under one belief system. At that time, Tibet was full of strong shamanic practices and animist beliefs, deeply rooted in the Bon religion, the native Tibetan spiritual practice. This varied and even chaotic spiritual setting made it hard for Buddhism to spread. When he arrived in Tibet, Padmasambhava faced opposition from different cultural and spiritual groups. The local gods and spirits of Bon traditions resisted Buddhism, and Padmasambhava used his knowledge of magic and tantric rituals to calm these spirits. This blending of Bon gods and practices into Tibetan Buddhism was key to building a lasting spiritual foundation. So, Padmasambhava founded Tibet's first Buddhist monastery, Sami Monastery, and began teaching deep lessons about the mind, reality, and the cycle of life called samsara. In Tibetan Buddhism, death is seen not as the end, but as a transition, a time opening up to the chance for spiritual freedom. Padmasambhava knew that, at death, the mind enters a special state where, free from the distractions of the body, it becomes more open to the ultimate truth. He saw this as a unique opportunity for freedom, but he also knew that most people, when they die, get lost in illusions and fears that block this chance. His mission was to create a guide that could be read by those with the dying or even studied while alive, so the mind would be ready for the bardos, the transitional states after death. Basically, he wanted to reduce suffering and open paths to enlightenment, even when everything feels uncertain and fading. This kindness is the foundation of the Bardo Thodol. He also knew that many might not reach enlightenment in life, but he saw death as a last chance, and so he provided instructions for followers to recognize the clear light, the pure display of the mind at the time of their passing. The 3 stages of Bardo Thodol. The Bardo Thodol guides us through 3 main phases, or bardos, that every soul goes through. 1. The Chikhai Bardo, the moment of death. In the Chikhai Bardo, the soul experiences death itself, a transition where the body breaks down and the mind is freed from physical limits. After the body dissolves, the soul encounters the primordial clear light, described in the Bardo Thodol as a bright, pure, and vast light. This clear light shows the true nature of the mind, a state of pure, unconditional awareness without fear or attachments. Some call it the higher self or the solar mind. There are many names for this state of complete and endless peace. For spiritual practitioners, the Chikhai Bardo offers a chance for final liberation. If the soul can recognize the clear light as its true self, it instantly achieves liberation, nirvana, and doesn't need to go through the other bardos. This recognition doesn't rely on rituals or teachings. It is a direct and complete experience of the truth, where the mind sees itself without any distortions. In this moment, all habits, karma, and identities disappear. However, for those who are not ready, the bright light can be frightening. Instead of seeing the light as their true nature, the mind might see it as a threat because of fear or attachment to what is familiar. In this case, the soul withdraws, losing the chance for liberation, and moves into the next bardos, where it faces more distorted and limiting visions based on its past actions. 2. The Chönyid Bardo, the Bardo of Visions. As Carl Gustav Jung once said, gods and demons are projections of the unconscious, powerful and inescapable until understood as parts of ourselves. In the Chönyid Bardo, the soul is in a state of awareness without its physical body and in a realm where physical boundaries don't exist. Here, the soul experiences projections of its own mind, visions that can appear as both angelic beings and scary, frightening images. This bardo shows the essence of the mind, where all that has been hidden, desired, or feared comes out in a stronger form. The visions in the Chönyid Bardo directly show the emotional and karmic states the soul has built up over lifetimes. They appear in two main types: peaceful visions and wrathful visions. In the peaceful vision stage, the soul first sees peaceful deities, representing enlightened and kind aspects of consciousness. These figures might look like Buddhas, bodhisattvas, or light deities, showing the positive qualities the soul has developed. The peaceful visions feel calm and offer a sense of peace. However, for an unprepared mind, these visions might be too much or hard to understand, causing the soul to withdraw and doubt what it is experiencing. In the wrathful vision stage, if the soul doesn't recognize the peaceful, true nature of the first visions, it is slowly faced with more intense visions called wrathful deities. These figures show anger, fear, and hidden desires, taking on monstrous and unsettling shapes. Importantly, these wrathful deities are not outside forces or evil beings, but expressions of the mind itself, showing the passions and attachments that still keep the soul in the cycle of suffering. The Chönyid Bardo is described as a state where the mind is free from physical limits. It is a pure state of mental display where everything is intensified. The visions that appear are like dreams, but unlike regular dreams, they are very clear and vivid. This happens because the mind, now free from the body, experiences its inner energies without any filters. Everything that was hidden and built up comes out with almost real intensity. These visions are seen as chances for learning and enlightenment, as each one shows a part of the self that needs to be understood or overcome. Those who stay fully aware during this Bardo can see that all these visions, good and bad, peaceful and wrathful, are just creations of the mind. Understanding this truth helps the soul let go of fear and achieve liberation. At this stage, the Bardo Thodol advises the soul to focus on the clear light, the original essence of the mind, described as a vast and pure brightness. Recognizing the clear light is the key to complete liberation, as it represents the true nature of all beings. It is the sun behind the clouds of visions, the light that stays the same despite all mental images. If the soul can see through the visions, it can reach enlightenment and escape the cycle of rebirth. However, recognizing the clear light is not easy for most minds. For many beings, the visions are so real and filled with personal meaning that it is hard to see beyond them. Therefore, the Bardo Thodol suggests that spiritual practitioners train in life to let go of illusions and think deeply about the nature of the mind. With such practice, even when faced with the strong visions of the Chönyid Bardo, they will be able to keep their focus on the clear light and find peace. Fear and attachment. Biggest obstacles to freedom. Fear and attachment are the biggest obstacles to freedom. The intense visions can cause deep fear, especially the angry deities, which represent wild parts of the mind. This fear makes the soul feel separated, stopping it from seeing the visions as parts of itself. The soul might want to run away from these visions or, because of attachment, focus too much on some of them, especially the peaceful visions, keeping it stuck in the cycle of samsara. To break this cycle, the soul must see the visions as not real. In Tibetan Buddhism, this idea is called shunyata, or emptiness. The mind that remembers emptiness during the Chönyid. Bardo can watch all visions without getting attached, understanding them as just temporary expressions of its own nature. The experience of the Chönyid Bardo is not a punishment or pointless suffering, but a time of revelation where the soul faces the mirror of its own mind. It is a test that shows who is ready for freedom and who still needs to be reborn to continue learning. 3. The Sidpa Bardo, rebirth. In the Sidpa Bardo, the last stage, the soul faces a crucial moment, choosing its next body based on all the actions, thoughts, and intentions from past lives, what we call karma. It's like the whole journey has led to this point, where what we carry inside determines our next destination. Entering this Bardo, the soul has already gone through dissolution in the Chikhai Bardo and faced its own projections and illusions in the Chönyid Bardo. Now it is in a state of higher mental density, where the desire to be reborn grows stronger, driven by fears and attachments that are not yet overcome. This desire, as Tibetan Buddhism teaches, is what makes the soul seek a new body, a new form of life. In the Sidpa Bardo, consciousness is affected by karmic inclinations, which are subtle marks left by actions from past lives. These marks work like magnets, pulling the soul towards situations and experiences that reflect its inner state. For example, if the soul has a lot of fear, that fear might lead it to a rebirth where it faces those same emotions. Similarly, strong desires and uncontrolled emotions create a whirl of energy that shapes the kind of life the soul will have in the next cycle. During the Sidpa Bardo, the soul sees a series of visions related to the rebirth process. These visions often include images of couples together, symbolizing the creation of new life. Here, the soul is asked to choose a new body, unconsciously guided by emotional habits and karmic impulses. In many descriptions, the Bardo Thodol advises that when seeing these images, the soul should stay detached and clear-headed. Only then can it avoid being forced into an unwanted rebirth. For those who can stay calm and detached, the Sidpa Bardo offers one last chance for transcendence. There is still the possibility of not being reborn, of choosing the path of freedom. This is the goal of the spiritual practitioner. Instead of being reborn under the influence of illusions and attachments, they must see these visions as creations of their own mind, temporary and empty by nature. Throughout the experiences of the Sidpa Bardo, consciousness feels a strong pull toward a new body, a process that, according to the Bardo Thodol, is like a psychic storm. It's as if the urge to keep existing, to be again, becomes irresistible. The choice of a new body is not a conscious decision. It happens through a deep, instinctive call, where the features of the new rebirth are shaped by the mind's state. It's like the next body is a mirror, of what the soul's mind needs to experience or solve. This process of choice also shows the Buddhist belief that each rebirth is a chance for spiritual growth. The body the soul chooses matches closely with its karmic and spiritual development. However, many do not understand this chance and end up being reborn in difficult conditions where suffering continues. Those who can see beyond this illusion, however, may reach a state where, instead of rebirth, they can merge into the clear light, the ultimate essence of the mind. According to the Bardo Thodol, preparation for this final stage starts in life. By thinking about our desires and fears while still alive, we become more aware of the urges that shape our destiny. Spiritual practices like meditation and reflecting on death build the ability to stay detached, helping the mind remain free from the dramas that arise in the Sidpa Bardo. Thus, the Sidpa Bardo reveals a simple yet deep truth. Life and death are connected, and the cycle of rebirth is just a continuous expression of our own choices and views. By letting go of our attachments, we break free from the cycle of rebirth and achieve enlightenment, the state where rebirth no longer happens because we no longer believe in a fixed self. The Bardo Thodol is not just a religious book or a collection of hidden beliefs. It is a tool for understanding ourselves, a reflection of our mind, and a guide for our future. It teaches us that death is the final chapter of our human story, but it is also the gateway to new beginnings. As Ram Dass said, "When you die, there is only one question that matters: how much did you love?" In this way, the Tibetan Book of the Dead encourages us to think about our own lives. Are we ready for the final journey? Are we willing to let go of everything we think we are? Maybe by thinking about these teachings, we can not only get ready for death, but also learn to live fully. If this exploration into the unknown spoke to you, share this video and subscribe to the channel. Let us know in the comments what interests you most about life after death, because the journey of self-discovery is long, and together we can explore the greatest mysteries of existence. Thank you for watching.